The first one is full custom, just like the customized IC which is used in washing machine controller or in the microwave ovens. It may be some application specific integrated circuit. It may be some programmable logic like the programmable devices like PLDs, FPGAs, CPLDs, or it may be a system on chip. System on chip is a fully integrated system which have everything in a single chip. So in this VLSI technology syllabus of the BNTC, we are going to study or we are going to deal with only digital design, but this system on chip involves the digital design as well as the analog design. On a same chip, nowadays we can find both type of devices integrated, like the microcontrollers which are studying, that is having the ADCs and DACs also on the same chip. So that analog to digital converter is a analog circuit. Further it will be given to the different parts of the controller, and then again on the output side we have a DAC which will convert that digital to analog. So both type of devices are accommodated on the same chip, that is called as a system on chip. So VLSI is thus a technology that can be harnessed for various applications covering analog, digital and mixed signal electronics. The current trend is to reduce the entire system design to a single chip solution called as the system on chip. So by going through the different units of this particular syllabus, we will be covering all the aspects of VLSI technology. So now we will focus on the VLSI design process. So in this VLSI technology, this provides a platform for developing the systems for various applications, and the integrated circuits so developed can be further classified as uh, it is a it may be a field programmable device, or it may be some application specific device. So the VLSI designs we can categorize into two parts. Either we can dump the design into the programmable devices, or we can go for a complete application specific integrated circuit in which everything is designed by the user. Now in case of the programmable devices, we may have the options like the simple PLDs, complex PLDs and FPGAs. Simple PLDs already you must have studied, that is the programmable logic arrays, programmable the PROM, that is the programmable random only memory, sorry, read only memory, then EPLDs, E square PLDs, all these you must have come across in your second year. Uh, as the number of devices required in your design is increasing, the complexity of the device is increasing, so we are switching from the simple PLDs to the complex PLDs, and then from complex PLDs to the FPGA. So these are the devices which are the programmable devices in which we can dump the program and we can use that particular chip as a which is having the functionality for controlling a particular system, or we may again erase the program and reprogram it. So these devices are called as the programmable devices, whereas there are some applications in which once in while fabrication itself we can program the device and then further it cannot be modified, but while doing the fabrication itself the devices are application specific. So there are some controllers which you have studied, those are called as the general purpose controller, like the microcontrollers 8031 or that PIC microcontrollers. All these are the general purpose microcontrollers. By programming, by software programming, you can change the functionality, but here uh, for the application specific controllers, the programming will not change the functionality. In the software, through the software we can design a controller, and then while doing the fabrication itself it will be made application specific, so further after that it cannot be changed. So likewise we have the two categories of VLSI design, one is using the programmable devices and other is using the application specific devices which cannot be changed once they are fabricated. Now we'll see the design flow for this PLD or the ASIC. So whenever you want to design your own controller for a particular system, which are the different steps involved? Like the first step is system requirement. So for your system, for your specialized system for which you want to design your controller, maybe using the general purpose device like FPGA CPLD or using the ASIC, which are the different steps involved? Those are same till for the some level, and after finally some modifications will be there in steps, whether you are going for the general purpose solution or the ASIC, but the initial steps will be same. So the first most important step is the system requirement. So which are the requirements of your system? Capturing of those specifications and requirements is the first step. The second step is architecture definition and the logic design. So you have to develop the logic in such a way that the required functionality will be achieved. So that is the second step in the design flow. Now the third step is VLSI design and layout. So once the logic is designed, now we have to implement using the VLSI technology. So for that we'll go for this third step of VLSI design and then the layout. So in this VLSI design, we can do the design entry, and then we can do the checking of the functionality. So it is a iterative process. So after VLSI design, the next step is design verification. So whatever design we have done and we have entered into the system, whether that is correct or not, whether the functionality what we are expecting is given by the design or not, that is called as the design verification. So that will be done, and it will be a iterative process. So if it passes the design requirement, then it will go further. Otherwise, if it is failed, then it will again go to the design process, and it will be a iterative process. Once the design will be verified, the next step is mask generation. Means now your design is ready for fabrication. Now in this particular case, I have considered the flow for ASIC design, in which the permanent solution, or we can say using the fabrication process itself, we are generating the application specific requirement. It is not done using the general purpose devices. Most of the time in laboratories you will be using the same design flow, but that will be using the general purpose devices like FPGA and CPLD. We will be implementing our designs. So if it is to be fabricated, then the mask generation will be the next step. After that it will be a silicon processing, that is again the further sixth step in the ASIC flow design. And once the silicon processing will be done, you will be ready with that wafer on which the chip will be available, and then packaging, and then the further reliability testing and all those steps will be involved, and then you will be ready with the chip. So all these steps we have seen in that video also. So these are the rough steps to design the ASIC. So in the further slide we'll be dealing with the details of this ASIC design. So basically the design we can see, you can see the 4 different colors are used in this particular flow. So the first color is the orange color, in which it is the design landmark, then the front end tool, then the test and verification tool, layout and physical verification tool. So at every stage we need to do the testing and verification, because once the design will be ready and it will be given for fabrication in the foundry, then the changes cannot be made for the ASIC, because if there is a small change needed in that design, then the whole process is to be repeated, the whole mask generation and everything is to be changed, and that is a very costly affair. So in the ASIC design, this testing and verification is very important at each and every stage. So design entry is the first stage. After that, simulation and power analysis. So as already we have seen, the important features of any IC are the speed, power and the area. So at every stage we need to check all these functionalities. We have to test the things. Then the clock planning, how the clock will be distributed, how the power will be distributed, all the things will be checked. After that, the verification at different stages will be done, like the circuit will be considered as one whole system, and then it will be tested just by giving the inputs and outputs. Then the further level of abstractions will be done, and then block by block it will be checked. After that it will be gate by gate, and then the transistor by transistor. So likewise the test abstractions will go from the system level till the transistor level. All the things will be checked, and then finally, if the design is optimized, then only it can be given for the manufacturing purpose. So while going into the details in the further units, we'll again many times we'll be coming across this design flow, and then the further details we will understand at that time. So the ASIC is nothing but the permanent solution which we will be fabricating in the foundry, but once it is fabricated, no changes can be made in that. Generally, the solutions in which the number of iterations are required, the device used for fabrication purpose is the PLD, that is the programmable logic device, in which we can change the logic many times and we can reprogram the device and check the functionality. So for prototyping purpose, instead of directly going for the ASIC, people are first going for the PLD based design. Once it is fixed and finalized, then the ASICs are fabricated. So what is this PLD? So it is an integrated circuit and able to implement combinational and or sequential digital functions defined by designer and programmed into this circuit. So we can implement any combinational or sequential circuit with the help of these PLDs, and there are wide variety of ICs that can have their logic function programmed into them after they are manufactured. So the chips are fabricated, but these chips are programmable, means just by writing the software code and making the changes in the code, we can program the device. That is called as the programmable device. So most of these devices use the technology that also allow the function to be reprogrammed. So we can reprogram the devices. So these are some of the devices which we can program. Like we have PLA, we have a CPLD, and we have a FPGA. So historically, programmable logic array, that is PLAs, were the first programmable logic devices. PLA contained a two-level structure of AND and OR gates with the user programmable connections. So we can program the connections and we can have the different implementations of different logic functions which are having the AND and OR logic. Using this structure, a designer could accommodate any logic function up to a certain level of complexity using the well-known theory of logic synthesis and minimization. The PLA structure was enhanced and PLA costs were reduced with the introduction of programmable array logic devices, that is PAL. Today, such devices are generically called programmable logic devices, that is PLDs, and are the MSI of programmable logic industry. That is the, what is MSI? That is the medium scale integration devices. The ever increasing capacity of integrated circuits created an opportunity of IC manufacturer to design larger PLDs for the larger digital design applications. However, the basic two-level AND OR structure of PLD could not be scaled to larger sizes, and instead the IC manufacturers devised the complex PLD, that is CPLD architecture, to achieve the required scale. So just by increasing the number of AND and OR will not achieve the complexity, so they have switched to the another device, that is PLD, that is the CPLD, that is complex programmable logic devices. A typical CPLD is merely a collection of multiple PLDs. So you can just see in a CPLD we have the multiple PLD blocks all on the same chip. In addition to the Intel PLDs, the on-chip interconnection structure is also programmable, providing a rich variety of design possibilities. CPLDs can be scaled to larger sizes by increasing the number of individual PLDs, and the richness of interconnection structure on the CPLD chip. So all these PLDs are interconnected, and these interconnections are also programmable. So at about the same time that CPLDs were being invented, the other IC manufacturers took a different approach to scaling the size of programmable logic chip. So just by changing the number of PLDs and number of interconnections, we can improve the size. But the another approach is there, that is the FPGA, that is Field Programmable Gate Array. So compared to CPLD, FPGA contains a much larger number of small individual logic blocks and provides a large distributed interconnection structure that dominates the entire chip. So in this FPGA, you can see these small blocks. These are called as the CLBs, that is the complex programmable logic devices. So all these blocks are programmable, and this blue part that you can see is nothing but the interconnection. So these interconnections are also programmable. So this is the another approach for the increasing the capacity of the device, the number of programmable devices that can be accommodated. So all these types of devices are called as the PLDs, and these are used for making the prototypes of ASICs. So in our laboratory experiments, we will be implementing our designs with the help of these devices, which are programmable devices and which are reprogrammable. Now these programmable devices are available from different manufacturers like Xilinx, Actel, Cypress, Altera, Lattice, AMD, AT&T, and there are so many. So from different manufacturers, different programmable logic devices are available. Their different families are also available as per the requirement of number of logic gates, that is called as the gate capacity, and the other additional features. The different families are available. So how to decide which device is suitable for our application? So it may include the input, output, and the ambient specification. So how many inputs are there, how many outputs are required. So based on that, we have to decide the target device. The choice of target device, whether it is a CPLD or FPGA, depends on various factors, and specific type of device may be selected by comparing the specifications provided by manufacturer in the datasheet and the actual design requirement. So generally the design approach which is used is the top-down design methodology, means describing a complete system at an abstract level using the hardware description language, and then use EDA tool like the partitioners and synthesizers, and more time is spent on designing the HDL models, considering the different architectures and considering the system test and the testability issues. So in this top-down approach, so first we will be dealing with the system concept. So all the specifications, that is input, output, are described at this level. So which are the different inputs and outputs. This level completely ignores the hardware structure. However, the HDLs are not useful in this stage. So it simply treats the design like a black box. So just as a system is considered as a black box, and which are the different inputs and outputs, only that thing will be considered in the first level. Now second level is algorithm. It is also called as a behavioral level. This is the highest level of abstraction provided by most HDLs. A module can be implemented in terms of the desired design algorithm without the concern of hardware implementation details. Design at this level is very similar to a conventional high-level language programming like C. Then the next level of abstraction is called as the RTL, or the data flow. That RTL stands for register transfer level. At this level, the module is designed by specifying the data flow between the registers, and the designer is aware of how data flows between the hardware registers and how the data is processed in the design. Then the next level of abstraction is called as the gate level. So from this RTL we will be switching towards the gate level. The module is implemented in terms of logic gates. So initially we considered the system as a black box, and then we developed the algorithm using HDL. After that, in terms of registers, how the data will flow between the different parts of the system that we considered. Then again we go to the further level of low level of abstraction, that is the gate level, in which the details of each and every gate will be studied. And the last level of abstraction is the transistor or a switch. So this is the lowest level of abstraction. A module can be implemented in terms of switches, storage nodes, and the interconnections between them. Design at this level requires knowledge of switch level implementation details. So we'll be starting with the system requirement, and then we'll be going to the designing of the transistor level. So this is called as the design hierarchy or the abstraction level. So in this PLD based design, so we will be dealing with this PLD based design flow instead of ASIC design flow, because we will be implementing our designs in the programmable logic devices. So a decision has to be arrived at regarding the selection of type of the PLD, since we have two options, either we can choose the CPLD or a FPGA, and the selected device is then called as the target device. So as per the target device, we have to make our design. So the different steps involved are specifications, design entry, compilation, functional simulation, synthesis, simulation, implementation, and finally the hardware implementation. So this is the detailed design flow. So already we have studied the design flow for the ASIC. It is more or less same, only some further details are given in this. Like from the specifications, that is the system requirement, we have to design our circuit, and the design is to be entered into the system. So for entering the design into the system, there are different ways available. Like we can write our VHDL code, or we may directly enter the design with the help of a schematic, which is the schematic consisting of different registers and the logic gates. Or the last method is using the state diagram. So directly the state diagram of a particular digital system can be entered. After that, the next step is the compilation, and then the compilation involves the synthesis process, in which the entered design will be converted in the form of the circuit, which is based on the different registers and which can be understood by the software. After that, it is the functional simulation, whether the entered design is working as per our requirement, that is check the functionality of the circuit. Then after that, the device is to be specified, in which device you are going to download or dump your design, that is called as the target device. Once that will be specified, we can do the synthesis. Synthesis means in the available resources of the chip which we have selected as the target device, how our design will be accommodated or programmed, that is decided. And then again the simulation will be done. After that, it is a place and route. So in the available target device, which is a programmable device, how our design will be accommodated and how the interconnections will be done between the different blocks, that will be checked over here. Simulation from the timing aspect, considering the timing aspects, will be also done to check the different delays and all, and then it will be targeted in and dumped into the required hardware. Now this required hardware may be a CPLD or a FPGA. So again, further details are shown in this diagram, but we will study these details in the further lectures. Thank you.